So I don't know how big this story was nationally, but locally here, there was a pretty big story, man, last week. The story broke about the murder of the young female police officer, Ariana Preston, 24 years old. And I think they were saying that she was number 600 as far as CPD officers that have been killed in the line of duty. And they did consider this a line of duty death. That's an important distinction to make. She actually was not technically, on the clock, so to speak, while she was killed, but that they consider this an in-line of duty death. And that's important because when they count it as that, her family will get benefits. Okay, for a police officer that's killed in the line of duty, young, beautiful, intelligent woman, man. She had just gotten her second degree from Loyola University. She was making all the right moves and got killed by these four teens that were out on a robbery spree. And a lot of details now are starting to come out about what led up to that and how they ended up arresting these guys. So we're going to get to some of that in this video, some of the stuff that's emerged since in the week since. So CPD has been all over this. The guys who were involved, at least one of them, who's a rapper named Munchie, had said that he was going to have to lay low after this happened. So he was kind of ducking out the way with his girlfriend. And but they still got him though, man, and they got all four of the guys. So here's some of the details about what was leading up to that situation. The three other teens, okay, that are over 17 are considered adults, okay, in the system. The 16-year-old, he missed that by 1 year, and they said have significant juvenile criminal backgrounds. They had apparently went on a nighttime robbery spree, the media is reporting, that culminated in the murder of that off-duty CPD officer. But again, they're considering it an on-duty death. The judge, who's David Kelly, he held all four without bail. That was during their bond hearing last Wednesday. So the one guy, his name is Jaquan. He's 18. Jalen is the 16-year-old and 19-year-old named Travell. And a guy named Joseph are each charged with first-degree murder, armed robbery, burglary, possession of a stolen motor vehicle, and other felonies. So this had nothing to do with any personal thing between them and this cop. All indications are they didn't know her personally. This was part of a robbery spree. She was not their only target that day. And there's a point that I want to make about this towards the end of the video. They had robbed several other people. She was like just another person that they were robbing that day. So it wasn't any personal thing with her and them. She was not involved in anything with them. So Jaquan, his street name is Lil Munchie. He's a rapper. He has a carjacking case pending in juvenile court. So the girlfriend and another female picked up these four guys late Friday night, and Jaquan then started driving. So he drove all six of them around looking for people to rob. So all four of the guys had guns. They were dressed in black. They had covered their faces, and their eyes and the bridges of their noses, though, were still visible. So he brought the car to a halt, they said, around in the 900 block of East 46th. And the four guys got out with guns to rob a woman who had just parked her car. So they took the woman's Louis Vuitton belt, her credit cards, her IDs, and then they forced her to unlock her phone, which they also stole. A few minutes later, they decided to steal a red Kia Forte that was parked over by 47th in Indiana. So they were going to multiple hoods over here, okay? And the women left in the other car, and the four guys searched for more victims while driving the Kia, okay? So they had stolen several cars, and the women took off in one of the cars. They spotted a 62-year-old woman. Now, by the way, the fact that the women left, okay, and were not with the guys when Preston was killed basically saved them from being charged with that probably as well. Because if they had been there on the robbery spree when she was killed, they might be going down for this too. So, I mean, it was just pure circumstance that they happened to take off. So the guy spotted a 62-year-old woman standing outside in the 1000 block of South Wallace. Okay, so this is like 60 blocks south of where they had just done the previous robbery. So this gives you an idea of like how far they were traveling with this, okay? She was talking with her son's girlfriend, and at least three of the guys jumped out of the Kia. They pushed the women to the ground and robbed them of a Coach purse and a phone. Then two of them robbed a man who had just returned back to his house over on 91st, okay? Then two of them, they robbed him, okay? Now, this is around 1:42 a.m. This is when Ariana Preston, the police officer who was off duty at the time, returned home from working her shift at a far south side police district. Now, surveillance video showed the Kia that the guys were in rolling down the street past her parked car and then returning. She stood near the sidewalk in front of her home. The Kia stopped, and the video showed 3 offenders running towards her from the car. Multiple muzzle flashes are seen on the video, some from near Ariana and some from near the offenders. Now, they said that she'd gotten off a couple of shots. Now, this is the point that I want to make, okay? And again, I'm not trying to say anything about like what to do or what not to do, because people are going to, you know, draw their own conclusions. But the other people that they robbed are still alive. Okay, when I heard about this, I thought about that Chicago Fire Department captain. I think he was like the head of the Chicago Fire Department in one of those local districts down there, who had gotten out to carjack him or whatever, and he had started shooting at them, and they had gotten into a shootout with him and killed him. I wonder, honestly, guys, if Ariana had not started shooting at them, if she'd still be alive, because everybody else that they robbed that night is still alive. They didn't shoot any of those people. They just took their stuff and left, you know, and most of the stuff probably now they've gotten back, and they've still obviously got their life too. So, I mean, she started shooting at them. 1-on-3 shootout, man. That's not good, man. You know, like that's never going to end well. I mean, so rest in peace to her, man. You know, I mean, I feel really bad for her, but honestly, I think that was probably the wrong call to start blowing at them, because like I said, they weren't out to kill anybody. It appears that night from the previous robberies they did. That's just my 2 cents. But anyways, man, I say it. I've said it again and again, and I'm going to keep saying it despite the negative feedback I get. I think you're safer just giving up the stuff 99 times out of 100. I really do, just based on the examples that I've seen, especially when there's multiple people coming at you. I can't see anybody winning a 1-on-4 shootout. But anyways, so she, you know, got into a shootout with these people, and she was hit twice, one to her face and the other to her neck. She fell to the ground. The group ran back to the Kia, but one of the offenders dashed over to her body and took her gun. So that weapon has not been found. Now, the head of the Fraternal Order Police, John Catanzaro, he was making a point about this. He was saying that once they took her gun, they must have known that she was a cop. I kind of disagree. I don't think that you would necessarily just jump to the conclusion that she was a cop based solely on the fact that she had a gun. But that's going to be a very important point for the case, because if they knew that she was a cop, that's going to be one thing in court. If they didn't know, that's going to be another thing. I mean, either way, it's first-degree murder, but, you know, murdering a police officer versus murdering someone that you didn't know was a police officer, it's a little different. But anyways, so the group ran back to the Kia. One of the offenders, you know, took her gun, and they don't have that weapon yet. So a CPD shot spotter immediately notified CPD of 9 gunshots detected at the exact address where she was killed. But the first officer didn't arrive on the scene for more than 30 minutes. And only after 911 dispatchers received an alert from her Apple Watch, which believed that she had been in a traffic crash. So her Apple Watch mistakenly identified what had happened to her as an auto accident, but it wasn't that. But it still notified, you know, the authorities or whatever. CPD leaders refused to answer questions about the delayed response during a press conference on Wednesday morning, and I can tell you, delayed responses, that's like not an uncommon thing. As far as like shot spotters and stuff like that, there's a lot of times stuff will happen and it won't be, you know, 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes actually is like not that long by Chicago standards. You know, these things, I don't know what the issue is with it, but a lot of times there's like a big delay. They said that she was wearing her uniform and was killed in the line of duty. Now, if her uniform was covered up by a jacket, I don't know, but if the guys did see her uniform, that would go to the argument that they, you know, would have had some indication that she was a cop. So investigators found 11 shell casings at the scene. 2 were near Preston, and the others were near the area where the robbers stood. So it appears that she got off a couple of shots, and DNA testing of the casings found 3 profiles that are consistent with 2 of the guys and with Ariana. Now, 4 minutes after the shooting, the group parked the Kia over by 71st and Eberhard and then walked away. Some of them are accused of returning a few minutes later to set it on fire with lighter fluid. So police were investigating the Kia fire. They saw a car that was parked illegally with no license plates. It was the car that Jaquan, Lil Munchie, his girlfriend had picked the robbers up in at the start of the crime spree. So you see how this whole thing just came crashing out. They're doing all this to get money for it and ends up just destroying all their lives. Investigators found the first robbery victim's identification and credit cards inside the vehicle. So anyways, on Sunday, little Munchie went over to his ex-girlfriend's house to stay at her house, trying to, like, you know, stay out of the sight of the police. He was over at one of the houses of one of the other robbers. I don't know if they knew or not, but the cops had set up surveillance on that other guy's house. Okay, so they pulled the Uber over a few seconds after little Munchie got inside of it, and they said that little Munchie, he was wearing the first robbery victim's Louis Vuitton belt. So he was wearing the belt that he had stolen that night. And he crawled over his ex-girlfriend to get out of the Uber, telling officers that he had a gun. The weapon was tucked into his waistband, and it was equipped with a loaded extended magazine and a switch so that it could fire automatically. And officers found an unloaded gun in the Uber's back seat. Police determined that the 9 shell casings found at Ariana Preston's murder scene were ejected by that weapon, which had fingerprints from 3 of the robbers on it. So while this was going on, little Munchie started yelling warnings down the street to the other people that were still inside of the other homie's house. But the cops surrounded the house, and the occupants were taken into custody after a SWAT standoff that lasted for several hours. And guys, if we want to talk about a privilege, guys that had just killed a cop, okay, and were suspected of being, you know, cop killers, given several hours without the cops busting in there and just flaming everybody, that is privilege at its finest. So anyways, little Munchie, in addition to having the carjacking case pending in juvenile court, was an adjudicated delinquent for robbery in 2019 and for criminal trespass vehicles in 2019, 2021, and 2022. He's the 8th person accused of killing or trying to kill someone in Chicago this year while awaiting trial for a felony. And the cases involve 11 victims, 6 of whom died. So one of the other homies, who officials said admitted to killing Ariana when she reached for her gun during the robbery, was adjudicated delinquent for aggravated vehicular hijacking last year, armed robbery in 2021 and 2019, theft in 2020 and 2019, and 3 more robberies in 2019. So again, see, he said that he killed her when she reached for her gun. So if she hadn't reached for the gun, she might very well still be alive. So a law enforcement source said that one of the other homies and Lil Munchie are by far in the top 10 for prolific juvenile carjackers over the last 2 years. And these carjackers are really dangerous, man. So the 16-year-old is on juvenile probation for armed robbery. His previous juvenile adjudications include unlawful use of a weapon and possession of a stolen motor vehicle in 2020 and robbery in 2019. See, in a lot of other states, these guys would have never been out. So he's on juvenile probation for that. And then one of the other homies, one of the older homies, he's on adult probation for unlawful use of a weapon. As a juvenile, he was adjudicated delinquent for possessing a stolen motor vehicle, aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, robbery, aggravated battery, and disorderly conduct. So Lil Munchie's music video was taken down off of YouTube shortly after this happened. And I don't know who took it down. I don't know if he made that call to take it down, or if they took it, or if YouTube just took it down, or the cops took it down, or what, man. But, you know, they got guns all in the video and everything. When a cop is killed, I mean, it gets hot. You know, the whole block gets hot. The whole hood gets hot. Everybody in the circle, they become hot. And, you know, it's just a matter of time, man. So Ariana Preston, man, 24 years old, just got in her 2nd degree, you know, young, intelligent, beautiful woman, man, taken out by these guys that were just out there on bullcrap, man. And I met so many kids in the school. It's like you talk to them and it's just, you just see it coming, you know, with the way that with the thoughts they're expressing to you, and, you know, just the way that they react to situations and everything. It's really sad. I don't know if they had guidance or not. Some, you know, people always say, well, they got no guidance, but then you meet some that do have guidance and just choose to ignore it. You don't know what's going on. Everybody's different. But you can see from their criminal backgrounds that these guys shouldn't have been on the street, man. I mean, this was only like a couple of years ago, like their most recent offenses, or like 1 year ago in some cases, you know, and these were like dangerous offenses. And personally, I think guys should be getting longer for that, man. You know, 1 year. Like, they were back out on the street after, like, doing all these robberies and, you know, getting caught for all these other crimes, especially, like, repeat offenders. Man, Chicago's laws are soft. Like, in other states, man, People are always looking for like the reasons why, New York and LA have these way lower homicide rates. Chicago could easily fix this if they just, if they just like give these guys longer sentences. Because there's that period of time, those teens, early 20s when guys are going crazy. If you can get them past that age, if they do one thing, two things, okay, three things, now it's time to book them and put them away until they, settle down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because that age range, man, here in Chicago, I'm telling you, the youth are out of control. You guys saw what happened like a few weekends ago. That ain't nothing. Like that's just a warm up. Guys getting into shootouts, fights, beating people up at random downtown. Chicago's youth these days, the teens, I'm telling you, they are all the way out of control, man. I can tell you firsthand, working 12 years as a substitute teacher. I don't want to make any assumptions about these guys' personal family life or, their religious beliefs or anything like that, because people always point the finger at a lot of that. But I don't know these guys personally, so I'm not going to speculate on that, man. But there's just a breakdown of a lot of stuff and a turning away from a lot of values and everything that their grandparents' generation had. That's what it is for the foreseeable future, because that's what this generation is on out here, bro. But rest in peace to Ariana Preston, man. And she was a bright young star that was taken out of the city too soon. Ella French, another example. Some of these other guys some of these other young ladies that have been killed recently. There's another story that just broke about some guys killing some women out in LA, and they turned out to be from Chicago too. And it's not getting better. I mean, we're like making a spectacle of our city on the national stage right now. But let me know what you guys think though in the comment section, man. This is your boy Winnie C Report. I'm out.